Thank you for double-clicking your mouse tonight. You're listening to the Midnight Frightcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Midnight Frightcast, episode 19. This is the Prairie Lights Film Festival edition, and I just blew Greg
just stole it from him.
away.
That's worse than punching me in the tits.
That's what she
you
said?
stole my introduction.
Oh, you were going to do the introduction?
Yes.
Well,
we had established that.
I didn't. When did
I
we
was ready for
establish
John
that?
LaFontaine and everything.
When did we establish that?
Like 2 seconds before I started singing The Sound of Silence.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to let it go. I thought it was hilarious.
Well, at first I thought because the way you reacted is like I was being like Josh Loud at that time. But
Oh no,
you son of a bitch.
Well, geez, I'm sorry. You
that's
want me
okay.
We could start over.
No,
It's
we're already in it. That's what
We've
she
already
said.
lost
So
it.
let's roll with it. All done LaFontaine at some point today.
Wow,
been
all
blown.
right. Hey, we are in Grand Island, Nebraska right now at the Prairie Lights Film Festival. What are you looking around for?
This seems very muffled. Is it the room that we're in?
Possibly,
Okay.
yeah.
There's not as much echoey.
Yeah.
We're down in the basement of the Grand Theater at the
Yeah.
in Grand Island, Nebraska for the Prairie Lights Film Festival, and we're just running a quick podcast here amongst the three of us. We're going to be pulling in some guests here as we go along,
Hopefully.
some different filmmakers. Not hopefully, we will.
We'll get some.
We'll get some for sure. And get some introspective on what they've thought of the festival so far. Maybe talk about their films a little bit. Let's open up this discussion. First day coming down here, Friday night, last night. Pretty solid opening, I thought.
Yeah, it's Friday night is usually dedicated to I don't want to say it's dedicated to the horror genre, but it kind of sort of is without saying it is. A lot of the stuff that we saw last night, minus Naomi Jones, was the horror genre.
Correct.
For the most part. Some thriller and some
Western crime.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a Western,
neo-Western is how he described it.
Yeah, neo-Western, yeah.
And then some sci-fi.
Yeah, but I mean, for the most part, it's say the darker stuff, I guess, plays on Friday night. So
Yeah.
Well,
but then again, I mean, Corruptors Tonight. And
Corruptors
that's
Tonight.
darker. But I mean, I think that's mixing in the features with the
Yeah,
shorts,
it's feature,
that type of thing.
yeah.
They've
So-
done that in the past too, where in the last couple of years, like last year, they played was it The Eyes of Isabel on Saturday night?
yeah, they played it late.
And then the
Mhm.
year before that, they played something that was horror feature.
Uh,
No, that was 2 years ago. Was The Eyes of Isabel? Last year was Wolf's Robe.
Yeah, was
Yes,
that it?
Wolf's
Okay.
Robe was last year.
Yeah, which I don't know if you could classify that as a horror.
It wasn't horror at all.
thriller, so
No, yeah.
that just debunked my entire theory. I'm going to go. Stick my
But
head
the
in
first
hole.
2 years,
Okay.
Remission took that spot. So
Okay,
yeah,
so I guess it's just a matter of what the director of the contest, good lord, the film festival has,
yeah,
and where they feel it's going to fit best within what they've got. So.
yeah. So yeah, overall, we've had a pretty good experience so far
Mhm.
with what we've watched. So
I agree.
seeing a lot of people here and doing some networking. The Kincaidor
Brewery.
had the after party last night.
Mhm.
That was fun. So yeah, do we want to punch on any of these films and talk about some of them and pick and choose, or
Maybe go through our favorites, I think.
yeah,
So
maybe just
I will kick off
You're going to kick off.
because
Okay.
somebody else kicked off for me.
Well, hell, fight for what you want there, and you didn't fight. Survival of the fittest there, Greg.
I was... Shut up, Dick. So, from Friday night, we got the Prairie Lights Film Festival kicked off with Naomi Jones from Father Son Productions, Tom Noblock, and Ben Matukowicz. They are past Greg the Movie Guy podcast. No, were they were past Midnight Frights podcast.
they were on the podcast 2 years ago
When they
did
launched-
almost a weekend.
Yeah, they did almost a weekend. Since then, they've put out Adaptation, which I actually had the privilege of reviewing for them, and Great receptivity. They were really
Receptivity?
receptive. I don't know. I'm making up words, dude. I'm tired. This has been a long weekend so far. Naomi Jones was a good start, I thought.
Yeah.
To the weekend. It's awesome to get to come to this every year and see how filmmakers have one-upped their game.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Ben and Tom they've taken their camera work to the next level from what they've done with Almost a Weekend.
Yeah.
I keep mixing up the two. So I thought they did really good with that.
And those dudes are always busy too. They're always doing something.
If one's done, they're already on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how they continue to roll like that, but hey, power to them because they can do it. So from there, we went into what I originally thought was the Flatwater Terrors project, but apparently was not, as I was so informed. Where we premiered Ghost Hunter, which was our film.
Well, did we talk Bagman, or you're talking your favorites?
Yeah, I'm just talking about the ones I liked. The
never mind.
Bagman was good. I liked how it was shot. Was done really well. I didn't get it. It kind of left you with a sense of, huh? So
Can you include your own into your favorites? Is that okay?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Dude, out of all the ones that we have done, I think that Ghost Hunter has probably been the best that we have ever done. And I'm not just blowing my own chain here.
Let Greg live in his narcissism.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Keep going, Greg. I'm sorry. Go.
Greg is going to he's going to
I'm going to jump across this historic table and I'm going to bleed you.
Keep going.
I thought that what we had done, God, now I really sound like a dick. Was thanks a lot, Patrick.
You can't backtrack now. Just go with
pop
it.
my bubble here.
Don't apologize.
I thought on the big screen is where that movie needs to be seen.
Yeah.
I thought with the sound editing and everything, it was electric.
Yeah.
Watching that.
I once seen it on the big screen here. I know this is one that we need to submit to other festivals.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just because of that reason. I mean, we can listen to it with our headphones on or in front of our computer speakers or whatever we have at home, but I mean, it doesn't really do it justice until it's on that screen.
There's bits you definitely miss if you don't watch it that you catch when on the big screen.
Right.
That is, you don't get to catch those little things on your phone or like Patrick said on the computer. You miss all of it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, yes, I'm conceited. I'm an asshole. I liked our own stuff probably more than most. One that was surprising was The Grave Whispers. William Fisher's. Was really impressed by the shots that they took in that. One particular shot was just the single shot of the headstone where it was a slow zoom into it. I thought it was a beautiful shot, done really well. Really appreciated the story that they put into that. And then from what I had seen today, which has not been a whole lot, Tyler Schmitz, our own Tyler, and his documentary Prairie Pints premiered.
Yeah, hopefully we'll talk to him soon.
Oh yes, that would be awesome because I've been waiting for this since I knew he announced it because I thought this was a genius idea for him to put together, and it was just incredible, all the stuff that he was able to put together. So that was me.
As much as he was worried about that documentary, it came together pretty well.
Yeah, it really did.
So, yeah. Do you want to go, Patrick?
I can go, and I mean, if we're talking about the favorites, I don't know. I think it's probably easier for me to talk about some of the things I liked in each one. With Naomi Jones, I mean, that one kept you on your toes, which I enjoyed. In the sense it started off as the movie within a movie, so to speak. That it's a movie about making a movie. That then it took it took an existential twist halfway through. So it was kind of keeping you on your toes all the way through this thing. And I appreciated that from the filmmakers themselves. Bagman Died First, I thought was just beautiful. The cinematography on it was amazing. And Josh, you and I and Ebeth talked about this last night, that I just thought that there was some solid acting in that. That when we come to these festivals, that for a lot of the first time movie makers and stuff like that, we get to see a lot of amateur acting, but this is someone who's established in making movies and has access to actors who are just very, very capable. And I thought the actors in this movie were just really, really fine. Ghost Hunter, I'm not going to be like Greg. I'm not going to toot my own horn.
Toot toot.
Toot, toot.
Just go.
No, guys, I just got to say, as a group, since I've been working with you, I think this is one of the most solid ones we've done. Very proud of this project, and I do want to, you know me, I'm going to fix it more, but I do want to submit it to more festivals.
Agreed.
Hats off to Vincent Smith for Proof. This is his first outing.
Your debut?
It's his debut. And we always want to encourage those young filmmakers to keep making films. And I consider myself a young filmmaker because even though I'm 50 years old, this
Sorry,
is only
was that 70 years old?
No,
Just
not quite.
old.
I'm not quite 50 yet. So
He's almost 80.
it's anywho.
That's a bitch, isn't it?
But Ghost Hunter was technically my
Second
movie because Contest would have been my third. So I consider myself young at doing this, and so as much fun as I've been having on this, I encourage Vincent to keep making movies.
Yeah, I don't think he'll ever.
No, he really, really loves it. There was a world premiere of an unknown movie last night. In the schedule, it was just a bunch of question marks, and they weren't giving much information about it. I don't know. It's out of the bag. I don't think there's any reason we can't talk about it here.
No, you're safe. You should be safe.
It was a movie called Down Under by Benito Garcia.
Yeah.
And it was his first horror movie that he's directed. The thing I really appreciate on this, and he talked about it last night, and I totally agree with him, is that your mind is your worst enemy, and that they allowed your imagination to go wild on this one, and they just played with a lot of sound, and you can only see very little, and so your mind was letting you know what was going on and how bad it was. Dorothy and Chad from Unfiltered Entertainment brought us a little sci-fi thing called End of the Road. Once again, those guys put together just beautiful cinematography to their films, and this was no exception. And it was really great seeing new people on screen that just did really well for them. They had some actors in there that this was
first time acting, and he did a great job.
Yeah, that young gentleman did a very nice job. If the Shoe Fits, it was a little twist for me because it was the same actor, same location as Benito's film last year. And what was the name of that? The Cobbler or something like that.
No,
I don't think that was the name of it because The Cobbler isn't that
that's the Adam Sandler
movie. I can't think of the name of it, but Mark Popejoy was in it last year, and he basically played the same character this year. The main actor played the same character that he did then. But it was just a completely different twist on the situation. I know it was a different director, different writer, and everything else, but it was similar situation. I love black and white when it comes to stuff like that, and just nice little twist at the end. So.
I agree. And actually, up until the point where it started to turn genres, we'll say, it felt very Clerksy to me.
It did feel very Clerksy, which I found interesting. Though.
Yeah,
I liked it. So, and then this morning, Loch Ness, the web series, showed. This is something I'd seen a few years ago, a couple of years ago, because I think it was only put up in 2015. And thing I enjoyed about it is the guy who wrote The Contest was in it. A guy I went to college with. His name is Jim Hanna, and he always does a fine job. And then a documentary called Decades, which is about Lyons, Nebraska, about the history of Lyons, Nebraska, and found that very interesting. Prairie Pints, Greg, you talked about that. And Tyler, I think, did a very, very good job. I know that this was a passion project of his, and it's something that he should definitely be proud of. And then the last thing we saw before coming into this room was the Pete Lippens retrospective, his cinema retrospective. And for those of you who don't know Pete Lippens, he was very, very active in the local film scene and passed away this last year. And they took the time here at the festival to pay homage to him. So,
which is really cool. They did a really nice job with that.
Yeah.
The announcing of the grant, I think, is outstanding idea.
Yeah, and I think what we should do is get some more information on that grant, and we can talk about it a little bit later so we can provide some information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's totally open for people to donate money to.
If we can get Dorothy and Chad in here, they can talk about
they can
it
definitely talk
as well,
about that. So
yeah.
And that's me, Josh.
Yeah, I'll just do my really, really quick rundown since you pretty much
Yeah, I'm sorry.
hit every single.
Well, that's what I said.
fucking one of
I said I
them.
wanted to say something nice about each one of them that I really appreciated.
No. I'm just gonna hit a couple of.
Or maybe I'll just do yours for you and then piss you off too.
Yeah, go ahead and hang on. Go ahead, read my mind, Patrick, and do mine for me. Really quick, I'm gonna run through. Bagman was great. I like Mike Johnson's stuff. He's done a few projects, worked on a few other people's projects. He does a really good job all the time. Oh, we talked about Ghost Hunters. I'm not even going to touch that one. I'll leave it alone. It was fun. Ben's Down Under. Listening to audience reaction, it seemed like it bothered a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree.
I loved it. So, Ben's got a great eye. Ben did the noir last year,
The
and
skeleton
then he
dance.
did the
skeleton dance. Yeah,
he did this. I get the quote unquote like the silent film 2 years ago.
the one with him and Megan where they were the hitmen. People,
Oh,
all
that's
black
right,
and white,
yeah,
which
yeah.
was
which was all
phenomenal.
through like the texting through the phone or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
The guy's just got a
Yeah, there's
really
no dialogue, just texting and music.
Yeah, the guy's just got a really fucking good eye for filmmaking just in general. He just knows what he wants on top of him doing the effects and everything for everybody else's stuff. He's talented and I hate him for it. So good job, Ben. If the Shoe Fits, Nate Kalum, I had seen this and talked about it on the podcast a few months ago. I like Nate's stuff. Again, Nate's another one of those people that goes, he writes something and goes, how far can I take this before it's going to just piss everybody off?
Yeah.
And then he goes a little further than that. Because he did One More Time for the Camera, and he's done all his other stuff with Splitsville. If the Shoe Fits had a nice little twist at the end that you guys already talked about. And the last thing I think I'm going to hit is, Prairie Pints. So, I was like, I feel like I have something on my back. Prairie Pints,
It's the monkey.
I know is Tyler's passion project. And I know that he has put, a year and a half worth of work into
said
that
he-
thing
said
now?
two.
He said he started
2015.
February of 2015.
Yeah. So, 2 years then?
Almost 2
Yeah.
years.
And that's just commitment that's a lot of work. And a lot of patience. Jesus Christ, what is going on here? And a lot of patience
The monkey fell off your back.
to let something go for 2 years before you show it. And I know he was nervous as hell today to screen that, but yeah, he did a great job. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's obviously work because you get into the post-production and we can all back each other up because we've all done post-production and it sucks.
Yeah.
But what he got to do at the beginning of it, going to these breweries and filming, dude, that'd be like my Disneyland. If that was him.
Yeah,
If I was
Going
him.
there, filming, interviewing some really interesting people, learning a lot as you're going along, and being able to drink some great beer.
And I thought that was kind of the biggest thing. I think Christina Marie Leonard brought it up, how similar the brewery process is to the filmmaking process, where you start with just these few little things, you add it all together, and you have to wait.
It's a waiting game. Yeah.
It's a waiting game, and I thought that was a phenomenal analogy that she had made, and I think it truly paid off for what Tyler was able to put into that. So
yeah, I think the biggest thing so far that I'm going to take from this weekend is something I'm going to put. It's a quote I'm going to put on my editing computer. So every time I want to fucking quit because it's just bugging the shit out of me, I'm just going to write "always forward" on there
Always
now.
forward.
Because that's
Great.
that's that Pete Lippen's
Pete
quote
Lippen's
that he
quote.
says, and it's true. So every time you want to quit,
always forward.
always forward. So that's I think a great thing to take away from this weekend for any filmmaker really that's up here. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Do we want to break and then try to find some guests?
Yeah, I think so, because we're pulling away from our normal format here. We're not going to talk about, because what we've been watching is what we've been watching this weekend.
Yeah, and we'll attack that.
And we attack that as we go along. Yeah. So we're probably just going to take a break here, go out and talk to some people, try to rope some people into this room, tie them down to the chair and do what we want with them.
Make them talk.
So...
in a world... damn, I was going to...
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to take us into the break, but whatever.
I'm not going to take you into the break if you want to take me into...
All right, take it into
you
the
can
break,
take me.
All right, take it into the break.
I will take you, Patrick.
All right.
In a world where Greg takes Patrick into the break.
I'll give you $5 if you interrupt him right now.
No, I'm going to be nice to him.
All right,
I had a really good Don LaFontaine voice.
I'm done now.
There.
I know. We're not going to interrupt you.
Wrap it up.
Okay.
In a world where Greg
So we're going to be taking...
Damn it! We're going to break. Cut it.
And we are back. We've got in the office here, the basement office of the Grand Theater, with us from Father Son Productions. We've got Tom, Ben, and Chris. And their world premiere of Naomi Jones opened the Prairie Lights Film Festival. Congratulations, guys. Really good film there.
Yeah, thanks very much. It's fun to be on the show.
Thank you.
Oh, you bet. We just kind of... you want to speak? There we go.
Thank you.
There we go.
Everybody gets a turn.
Yeah, we've got limited microphones, so we're kind of like leaning over and sitting on each other's laps and everything down here. Tell us a little bit about Naomi Jones. It's listed as a comedy, but I think it falls into that existential area as well as we're, as I was watching it yesterday.
It's probably, it's an existential, just an existential crisis that it's a little less pretentious to do an existential crisis if you can laugh. If I can make the audience laugh throughout it was kind of my philosophy. And part of the reason why it gets so weird is I feel like I can do some of that stuff and I can get away with a lot more if we throw some goofy things in that make people laugh sporadically. So, yeah, the story, though, it's about a mumblecore filmmaker who's on the set of her first movie that has a real budget, and it's probably even worse than her mumblecore movies where it's just everything's falling apart, and so she's sort of deconstructing her whole personality and mindset of why am I here? Why did I want to do this? What do I want to do? What's the point of art? It just spirals from there.
All right. Excellent. Throughout the course of the movie, she encounters doppelgangers of herself. Where did that idea come from?
I don't remember exactly when that came in, but the idea was basically so the conflict is essentially the dissonance between who you are and who you want to be was kind of what I was thinking. And so she's sort of achieved some dream, but she isn't sure if she likes it. She's not the person she thought she would be when she achieved that dream. And so since we're already dealing with sort of like the theoretical you and the real you, it made sense. All right, so a doppelganger is a way to visually represent somebody chasing after herself or this idea of herself. And then Ben's dad actually had pitched this thriller idea to us. He gave us this idea of, in the world you have 7 doppelgangers. And so we should do a movie about a guy chasing down all his doppelgangers. And so I thought that's funny if that's the movie that the cinematographer is sneaking off or she's running off to secretly do that movie. So thematically we can kind of build this through line for a reason why doppelgangers are being talked about. And then it also lets us visually represent an internal struggle. So
excellent.
That's kind of that.
All right. Coming up with the idea for the movie. How do you guys do that? Is it a joint effort? Does someone pitch an idea and then you work on it together? Or, what is your process?
Do you want in on any of these, you guys?
Yeah, I can answer that one. Usually one of us just has an idea ready to go. The first movie we did sit down and kind of formulate that together. We talked about that, I think on 2 years ago on your guys' podcast about how our writing style was a very specific way back then. That has completely changed, as most things tend to do. Basically, for the last 2 movies, actually, the last movie I came up with the idea for just kind of randomly at work, but this one was pretty much all Tom's idea. It was built off of experiences we had on our film sets, but the idea to turn this into a story happened to come from Tom this time. And so his process is to sort of build that idea until he's ready to present it to us, which was very quickly at this point because he's very confident in this idea. And then he kind of comes to Chris and I and talks about what that idea actually is.
Well, on Naomi Jones specifically, if I would get stuck, I sort of resorted to talking to Chris where I would just say, Do you remember? I don't remember exactly what any of those were, but I know I would just come to you and say, all right, so I think something like this needs to happen.
We spent a couple of days, like when I was at work, you'd just come in on my breaks and we'd just talk about whatever you wanted to do on the movie. And
do you remember what any of those were specifically?
The first scene in particular was mostly you and I working on that. Because I remember I'd come up with the whole, like, he walks and misses his marker right away. And like,
well, yeah, because we'd had, various people on set in the past who were actor problems where it was kind of like, all right, so we want to make it like this thing that happened in one of the previous movies. And then, I talked to Chris a little bit. And
the Cave People was also one of our collaboration things. That was fun.
How did that, what was the...
You wanted to have somebody eating a microwave burrito while protesting moving back to the cave or something like that. And so it kind of started with that, and then it all kind of just turned into this weird movement thing.
It was right. It was like, I wanted Will Forget to lead a movement away from civilization was where I started
you
with it.
You wanted it to be like Stardust Memories, where he goes and sees like the aliens and whatnot. So we made that, but it's like, people going to live in caves. In Omaha.
So Naomi Jones specifically, Chris kind of helped crystallize some of those ideas just by talking about some of those things. And so, that's the process with that.
Yeah, that opening scene was really solid because I think we've all experienced that, and it seemed like the crowd really enjoyed it too, because you were speaking to the audience that lives that life.
Right.
Yeah.
So, as the three of us work on projects, we all kind of assume different roles. Is it similar to with you guys that there's roles that you fall into? One's behind the camera, one's kind of helping there, one's doing something else, or is it extremely collaborative?
You want to go?
I'm usually more of like a support role, but every once in a while I jump in there. Ben and Tom are usually the leads.
Yeah, and even from there though, I'd say Tom is more interested in the creative side. He absolutely enjoys the writing and directing process. I thought I wanted to do directing until I co-directed and realized I cannot control actors the way that Tom can. And so I sort of let that be his thing. I actually enjoy the producing side of it. When we started out, it was pretty much 50-50. We kind of both did everything. And over the past 2 years, that has kind of split into figuring out what we like to do. So I usually handle more of the producing side of it. And then, like Chris said, he helps out. Usually once we get production rolling, he'll come in and be on set most of the time.
Now, Tom and Ben, you were both in the movie.
I was too.
Chris actually
Chris,
plays. He plays about 5 random little roles throughout.
Okay.
He's a doppelganger.
Well, obviously, you guys had a much bigger part, especially the scene in the office, which just, while funny, was also disturbing. It just seemed like you guys were having a lot of fun doing that. How much of that was ad-libbed?
Almost none of that was ad-libbed.
Really?
It was, I think, a 7 or 8 page script for that scene, and Ben knew all of his lines, Leah knew all of her lines, Katie knew all of her lines, and I think only had 1 line in the script, so some of my stuff was improvised, and we made up some of the stuff where it'd be my character and Katie Otten's character giving suggestions or saying things at the same time. That was made up on the scene because, as I recall, we kind of just sat down. We had the location for a few hours, and so we just went through for an hour of just reading it, and then someone would either say something wrong or come up with a new idea, and we kind of evolved from there. But I think the details maybe shifted slightly, but it's almost entirely scripted.
Right. The dialogue itself was pretty much already written, but the scene definitely evolved just through those run-throughs, because I think we didn't even start rolling the cameras for quite a while on that scene.
Well, I know, like, us doing the thigh slaps was improvised, some of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean, things like that, and then taking care of the sandwich for him, picking up the lettuce and putting it back into the buns.
The flying lettuce was not part of the script.
And that's the kind of stuff that somebody would do that once, and then somebody else would start laughing, and he would have to cut and redo that. So we would just add those little things into the scene as we went. Until people didn't laugh anymore.
Did we have the idea that you would be eating a sandwich the whole time before? Or were you just eating
dinner?
No,
I hadn't eaten that day. I had not eaten at all. And so I decided my character is going to be eating a sandwich. Because I've actually, in every role I've ever played, I've been doing something goofy. And so the first movie, I was eating constantly. The second movie, we're messing around, like sharing glasses in a scene. So I decided, okay, I'll be eating something again in this movie.
I mean, as if you need something goofier than that.
Yeah,
costume.
as if I'm already not goofy.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk about your experience in making the movie, working with your cast and crew, etc. Just overall experience.
Well, I mean, this one, I knew it was just going to be ridiculously self-indulgently talky, and so because there's so much dialogue, part of the idea with the casting was we should go to theater people because they'll be able to handle that much dialogue and be prepared. And so we went and we cast a lot of people out of the Nebraska Wesleyan Theater Department, and they were all so prepared. And we hadn't. I don't think we worked with enough actors who had as much acting experience. So we had some people who were sort of prepared, but this time we were almost unprepared for the amount that they were ready to just come and know all their lines and do it all and figure out the blocking and remember little things, like from take to take. And so it was a really smooth process with all the actors, which was its own. I mean, that was new almost. Not that we had bad experiences necessarily with the actors, but just they were on the ball,
right,
which made it all go a lot faster on the days. And so there was that. Otherwise, I mean, we weren't still doing our 4-day schedule that we tried with the first movie. So it was a little more time, and that always just still depends. Some days it'd be nice if we had a little more time to make things a little more polished. Some days we didn't have that. But overall, I thought it was a really, it was the easiest production up to that point for sure. I mean, they're all hard in their own ways. This time, the struggle was really, because so much of it is them just sitting and talking, how do we find some visual momentum throughout it? And some scenes are more successful than others, I think, even in the final version of that.
From script to screen, how long did it take you guys to finish that film?
It was written, I think, in November. I finished writing it November 2015. So we filmed it April 2016. It was right around the time adaptation was playing in Omaha. And then we finished editing it in April this year. So it was a pretty long process overall.
And you guys have a new one that you're working on. You're in post now, right?
Yes, we filmed another one this last spring or summer called Green on Green, which is another comedy. It's about a creative nonfiction graduate student who wants to write a best-selling memoir that she's decided is going to be this call to arms for environmentalism, but she isn't sure that she has a life experience that really corresponds with a good arc to sell that memoir. So she's going on an ecology research trip to try to prompt an epiphany that she's already had that then she can dramatize and sell. And that stars Rachel Dinan, who plays the writer in Naomi Jones, and Leah Cardenas is back as kind of a co-lead for that. And we got a lot of the Naomi Jones cast back for that one.
Now, you've brought films, I know for the past 3 years. Were you part of the second or first? Wait a minute. First or second Prairie Lights?
They came in the third year.
The third year?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is your third movie bringing it to Prairie Lights. Where do you feel Naomi Jones fits within the other two that you brought here? I'm putting you on the spot by making you compare.
It's way better. No, I think this is the first time that we were confident enough in the finished product. It's not a perfect movie by any means, but the first two, we were focused more on learning how to make a movie and less on the storyline. And this time we could focus more on the storyline and the visual, the shots that we actually wanted to get, I guess. And so in that regard, I think it ends up being a better product. Mm-hmm. I understand, obviously, people might prefer different storylines in different movies, and that's fine. And that's not to say the first two movies were bad, but they were not technically sound in a lot of ways. And so I think for the first time, we feel confident showing this here, especially, it was a lot of fun having it as an opening night film last night.
Yeah, because that's one of the things we discussed in our opening sequence is how everybody's upped their game this year so far from what we've seen from people who have brought things in the past, that it just seems like everyone's been upping their game, especially over the course of the festival itself. So
we should probably start, upping our game.
yeah, it's about time, Josh. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Patrick.
No, I'll have one for as we wrap it up with these guys.
If you got a I don't have a question. So,
oh, you don't have a question. I was just going to say, outside of your film, any thoughts or comments on what you've seen so far, or just about the festival overall so far?
I mean, it's always fun to just see what everyone else is working on. We went to Prairie Pints earlier today. That was really fun to see that, and that was the kind of one where I know Ben is really interested in beer just as a subject, so he probably already was more interested. I'm a little less maybe actively interested in the topic, but it's always really fun when you can be convinced, sort of like it wins you over, even though you're not really sure. Like I went into that not really sure if I was going to like it or not, and then I got really sucked into it. And I think Ben has decided he's going to start making beer.
He got me. Yeah. I think the other thing I love about this festival is that, we basically take a year off from kind of seeing you guys and seeing what everybody's doing. And so you come back and it's kind of like, what's everyone been up to?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And even if you don't love maybe the genre of a movie you're seeing or the storyline of a movie you're watching in there, I think there's always that ability to kind of look around the theater and be like, this is really cool. We're in a community of people who are here to support each other. Again, not every movie is going to be perfect. And I think that's one of the things I love, though, is that you'll come talk about that. You'll say, all right, what can we do better? You know, what did you guys like and dislike from this? It's just a lot of fun to be here, I think. We're really having a blast being here this weekend.
Excellent. Chris?
Yeah, same as them. I'm also going to start brewing beer. But no, it's great being around people who understand that, you know, mistakes happen and whatnot. I mean, no one here expects a perfect product, which is really nice. And it's nice to be able to see like how other people do things, especially with the smaller budgets and, you know, getting your product out there. And yeah, it's a great learning experience for us.
And I think it also takes a lot of the pressure off that this is a non-competitive festival, that it's just a bunch of people who really love making movies getting together, and we can really feed off of each other and support each other and everything else. So, Josh, do you want to throw in your stuff then?
I'm just going to have you guys plug, really, if we were done. You know, where can we find you? Naomi Jones, you said, is screening in Omaha at Exarban.
Yep.
Dates
So that'll be November 9th and November 15th at Exarban Cinema. Those are both 7 p.m. Start times. More information, just hop on Facebook. Or you can go to fpomaha.com, where we have just all kinds of fun information.
Also, we got the short movie, The Nuanced Side, is playing.
They'll be playing tonight.
And then I think we're going to bundle that with Naomi Jones at the Exarban dates. So
Nice.
if anyone wants to see that again, it'll probably play there before, like Pixar.
Greg, did you have anything to ask or anything?
You guys did a great job, but I don't have anything to ask.
So that's going to lead us into another break then. I want to thank Tom, Ben, Chris from Father Son Productions. Father Son Productions, is that right? Okay. I didn't know if it was Productions at the end, just Father Son, any of that other stuff, and I don't want to misrepresent you. So once again, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for
You
having
bet.
us.
And Greg, do you want to lead us out of this section then?
Break.
Nice. You didn't want to do the Fontaine voice? Okay. All right.
In a world where we take another break.
And we're back. And with us right now, we have the folks from Bootsy Cox, and they put together a film here at Prairie Lights Film Festival called Prairie Pints. Today we have Tyler Schmidt, Shadley Joe Mike, and Ryan Mike with us. Say hello, guys.
Hey.
Hello, guys.
Get in there, don't be shy.
Guys.
Go on.
I sat down, I watched this documentary, and I loved it. And I'm not just saying that because, you know, Tyler, we have a history and stuff like that. I really did enjoy it quite a bit. So,
Thank you.
It spoke to me in the sense that it wasn't just about their process. It's about what they have to deal with. You dealt with some issues in there that I wasn't expecting, and I'm glad that you did. So if you guys could kind of tell us a little bit about what brought you to this project in the first place.
Well,
take it, Shadley.
I'll just start from like the real beginning.
Yeah, totally.
We were at a wedding in Ainsworth, Nebraska, and we had hit up Ord. No, we tried to go to Ord. Is this? Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're good.
We tried to go to Ord.
Scratchtown.
Scratchtown.
Oh
Then
boy.
what? Columbus was. What's up?
So we stopped at Gottberg.
Gutsburg.
We stopped at Gottberg. We stopped in
There's like one.
Beaver View Brewing in.
Oh yeah, in.
Oh boy, you're gonna have to edit the shit out
Wow,
of
no,
this.
this is awesome.
We go straight through.
If you
Our
can't
aunt
tell,
and
they've
uncle
been
lives
spending
there.
a lot of time at those microbreweries
Oh,
there. so.
Jesus.
And, oh my gosh, what is this stupid town?
Ainsworth, Ansley.
not-
Your,
Aunt-
your aunt and uncle live there.
Dean and Carolyn. Where do they live?
Oh boy, cut.
Wow, this is
So anyway, in Beaverview Brew.
Okay. Anyway, so we're doing this.
So far,
And
this
we
is my
said-
favorite part.
it really is.
I'm loving it.
Oh,
And
boy.
we said, I'm pretty sure Tyler said we should do a craft beer documentary. And we just like sat on it, and then Erin Miles from Perfect Pour magazine.
Perfect pour, yes.
They were just starting up, and they said she was the one who was like, you need to get on board with this because somebody else will do it if you don't jump on it. So then I kept hounding Tyler, and then finally he was like, okay, fine, we'll do it.
And yeah, I mean, like, this was kind of one of those. This was the this was the time that I was like, okay, well, I'm done making films. And I was convinced by Shadley and beer. The alcohol really has, it's the liquor does a lot
Beer's
of
a powerful
the
persuasion.
The liquor does a lot of the talking. So yeah, that's.
But that's also
essentially
something that you've been passionate about for like a really long time anyway. So
is being drunk. Yes.
No, craft beer.
I did not say that. I said about beer.
Yeah.
And so putting the two together just made sense. Like if you're going to make another movie, you might as well do it about something that you are passionate about.
Yeah.
And
it didn't entail any like crazy special effects or anything like that. And it's like, and as kind of a little shout out to you guys with Ghost Hunter, sorry. Like that's exactly the kind of movie that I would love to make, but there's no way in hell that I have that kind of patience. Mm-hmm. So being able to make a documentary where there's just a bunch of talking heads talking about what they love, that's easy because it's just like, boom, boom, boom. Here's what they say. This is what they do. Mm-hmm. It doesn't take any post-production.
But when it came to tying it together and finding a story,
that was hard.
That's where we found
it's way easier to write a script even with 75 F-bombs. Like how we did with
just
Seven Down.
Yep, there it is.
It was much easier to, I mean, in that we just got sick of the writing process and wanted to move on, so it was our fault. But it was a much harder thing to like pull together some type of connecting story that wasn't boring. I feel like we did well.
Did you have a story in mind going into it, or did the story develop as you were going along?
Developed after.
Yeah. Absolutely not. We had no. We went through this whole hero's journey. Wanted to make the whole thing into a hero's journey, and so I started taking like stuff that we had filmed and said, "Oh, well, let's turn this into a hero's journey." And it's still, and then we asked questions based on the hero's journey, and it still didn't work. And then finally, I was just like, "What if we do beginning, middle, end?" And
but it worked.
Just like, okay, in the beginning they talk about this, in the middle they talk about this, and in the end they talk about this, and that's where we finally got to some kind of. That's where we got to where we are now.
Right.
And the whole process, like. The whole time that we were watching things, we were like, we have nothing. Like, how are we going to pull any amount of minutes? But like, it came together so nicely, and every single person said something like memorable, and poetic,
and that complimented.
Which is what we wanted.
Right.
People were always saying things that would accidentally compliment
what someone else said.
What
the
somebody
story
else,
told itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's about community. It's about sticking together as a group. It's like you're at this time in our history, you have these giant companies that are trying to take over an industry that 200 years ago, 300 years ago, 500 years ago was just something that every town had their own little snippet of that industry.
Right.
It's like, well, beer was something that you had to drink because water was tainted. So the alcohol killed all this shit in the water. So it's like I don't know.
We're
a few beers deep. So.
Yeah.
So, in this, I saw an overlap of passion in this. You guys have the passion for making the movie, and the brewmasters had the passion for making their craft beers. And I just like that overlapping thing. And then also the support that they gave each other, not just their partners in their own businesses, but the support they give each other as craft beer makers across the state.
They're not treating it as a competition.
Really, yeah. And an art, I think, and that's what we're experiencing here is art in film, and they're experiencing art in their craft in making these beers, and I just found that really interesting to see that overlay on top of each other with it. And that's not so much of a question as a statement that I felt really came out in the film as well. I loved some of the posts on Facebook that you would do whenever you'd go to a different place. You would have like, here's this beer, here's this craft beer, whatever, like that. Going through all of them, did you end up with a list of your favorites?
There is no such thing as a favorite
There
beer.
you go. That's a great answer.
You are an asshole for asking that.
That's an inside joke.
That's a very inside joke.
Okay.
We do have favorites.
Right.
It's like I'm not.
You can't say.
I'm a snob, but I'm not that much of a snob. I don't know about these guys, but it's like I have, there's certain beers, certain breweries, and I go and I'll go to that brewery and I'll say, I'll take this, I'll take that. As far as favorite breweries, and I don't want to cause any problems, but my favorite brewery to film was Modern Monks at Misty's downtown Lincoln.
Okay.
Because those guys, we filmed that 2 years ago on
Super Bowl
Sunday, and those guys were just a ton of fun. And then after we got done filming, I walked away from it saying this was the best shoot ever, because you watch the film, they're just tons of fun.
Well, and these were the two guys, if I'm correct, at the end of the movie with the clips that he was talking about the natural orgasm.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, Dave is so cute.
They just look like they have
Dave.
so much fun together,
there's-
the two of them.
It's ridiculous how much fun those guys were.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I could hang out with those guys every single day, I would jump at the chance.
Excellent.
Did you guys go in with a list of questions to start?
We started that way.
We always did, and then it would evolve. Like at first, maybe it was a little more stagnant, and then as we got more into it, the questions were a little more free form, and we always had certain ones, but it would lead to other things, and it would just loosen up a little bit more because, I mean, they would get more comfortable, we would get more comfortable, people would have more beers because, of course, we were drinking the whole time, so that helps. And even something like with Modern Monks, like it's more about like when you say like what was your favorite beers or whatever, a lot of it was tied to the experience with it. So like yeah, they had great beers and everybody has great beers, but we were drinking Sunday morning, Super Bowl Sunday at 8:30 in the morning, and they were like, you guys want a porter? Like this is a great breakfast porter, like delicious at 8:30 on a Sunday morning. That you kind of that ties back into how you tasted that beer at the time. So so a lot of it was, it just evolved over time. So we always had standard questions, but it was like, I'm going to have 7 questions, but we'll ask 20 of them by the time we're done.
Based off that question, how much footage did you end up with, Tyler, at the end of all of this? Because I'm guessing that you guys just let them roll, right? You never cut them off or anything. You just let them
too much
kind of go. So you end up with just
epic proportions. What the Lord of the Rings trilogy?
Wow.
Gotcha.
Jacksonian type footage is what we had. We had enough footage, and ironically, I was only able to come up with 80 minutes for this weekend. But that was just picking the things that we thought were relevant.
Yeah.
If we would have picked stuff if we would have gone through and said, I want to use all my favorite footage, we probably could have had a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I already feel like it was kind of, it was barely, there was moments where we needed it to speed up.
Yeah.
So we had to just cut a lot. We had to kill a lot of babies, for lack of a better way to put it. And I do not agree with that.
Hang on. That's a Chad Hofschild quote.
Yeah.
And that we learned when we were editing.
Yeah.
So
and
you got to kill your darlings.
You had to
babies.
get rid of things that you
really
were in love with, and
they don't need
sadly,
with a chainsaw.
There was no. There was a lot of stuff that we were in love with, or I was in love with, that now that we don't have it, it's
That's
amazing how it's just like, meh,
Okay.
it's gone,
Yeah,
whatever.
we got probably an hour from at least an hour worth of interview footage
Oh,
from
yeah.
every place.
And things streamlined. Obviously, the further into filming we got, the more streamlined we got, and so every time we shot, it's like the first time we shot for 4 hours. The next time we shot for an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever. It's like everything got shorter, tighter, more concise. Brickway is a great example.
Like 30 minutes.
We shot for 30 minutes and we were like, boom, dude, we are out of here. So,
Okay, so you were obviously on the road quite a bit then, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was expenses involved with that. Did you have any type of funding? Was this self-funded for you guys? Completely out of your pocket?
Bill Klaus.
Okay.
Oh.
William Klaus.
Okay.
Yeah, we did have some
he-
funding, yes.
Yeah, we paid for some shit
I mean,
ourselves, but also William Klaus, who actually
bought
funded.
equipment.
He funded stuff for Midnight
For
Fright.
Midnight Frights, yep.
all the time.
Um,
Yep.
Yeah,
Executive
he's-
producer.
He always.
He helped out
anytime-
with gear.
Yeah,
you know.
he's
Yeah.
very helpful.
Yeah.
Was there a place you enjoyed traveling to more than others?
Any time going to Scratchtown is great, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's 3.5 hour drive, but you really get to enjoy. You get to see a lot of the scenery.
Refresh my memory of where Scratchtown's located.
In Ord, so
Ord,
we're up in the
okay.
Sand Hills, which is nice scenery wise.
We never get out there.
Yeah,
like,
it's just
for
hard
anything
to
else.
get to. It's like, how often are you going to go to Ord just to drink beer?
Right.
How often are you going to go to Ord to do anything?
Well,
And
exactly.
you wouldn't go out there if it wasn't for the beer. And the beer is,
And that was one of their big things. Is they're like, hey, we're bringing business to Ord. We're trying to grow this city. You know, they have a brand new hotel there now, and that's, you know, a direct reflection because there is a brewery.
And that's one thing I guess I didn't realize prior to seeing this movie is the economic impact that these places are having on these cities, and making it more of this is Nebraska. This is Nebraska business, and people bringing home these national trophy or national awards for the beers that they're brewing and stuff, and really representing Nebraska well in that area. So yeah. Once again, I just really enjoyed it because it was informative stuff I never knew. I wanted to touch a bit on the legal issues that they're all running into with the big companies coming in trying to limit what they're able to do. I know you could probably go off on this for a while, but touch on it, educate our listeners a little bit.
Oh boy.
oh boy. So I have kind of a personal, how do you say it?
Beef.
Vendetta?
I'm connected personally because I work for the distributor that carries Kincaid, Scratchtown, and a few other breweries out west, but mostly it's Kincaid and Scratchtown. And LB 632 was a bill that I'm not sure on its stance at the moment. I know that they kind of killed it, but it's not. I don't know. They're
Whatever
they're
part
going
of
to
it
come back.
passed didn't affect
The
any of the craft breweries
big
at this point.
the big breweries, I won't name them. have-
One could understand who it is. Though. It's anybody who's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Craft.
Yeah. Exactly.
Budweiser.
Yeah.
They came in. They gave a bunch of money to a legislature,
Senator.
senator.
State
Thank you.
senator.
Sorry, state senator, and basically the senator the year before, back in 2016, they wrote a bill that was saying, each brewery could have at least 5 satellite places and blah blah blah. You know, it's like they were stifling the growth, but not really stifling the growth.
Letting them grow.
I mean, like they were, what's that?
But letting them grow.
Yeah, they were letting them grow, but they were stifling it. But at the same time, the breweries came along and said, "Well, it's like, well, we don't see any reason for us to grow any further than these 5 satellite places." And a year later, they came out with the same senator released a bill that was, or introduced a bill that was in cahoots with the craft beer's nemesis, I guess. That was they were trying to take away the whole satellite place. So like Zipline, sorry, I'm really struggling here. Zipline has two places in Lincoln and a place in Omaha. Well, this bill was going to make it so that they could, if they were going to have those two other places beyond the original tap room, they would have to brew on that site. And so this bill was step in for me.
Well, so that becomes an expense that they don't want to have.
It's an expense.
And another thing was the come to rest part of it, where they would take things, and a good example is Scratchtown in Ord, where their distributor, who is in Omaha, at the time it's legal because they can come and pick their beer up. So if Scratchtown wants to distribute their beer to another bar 4 blocks down the street, their distributor comes from Omaha, picks up the beer, drives it down 4 blocks, drops it off. They were saying, hey, you can't do that anymore. You need to take that back to your dock in Omaha. So you're going to have to go from Omaha to Ord, back to Omaha, then back to Ord to drop it off. Basically, if they're doing that, it was a dick move. They're just trying to just be, trying to drive up expenses.
And the original agreement was kind of like, and I got this from the documentary, as I interpret it, was kind of a handshake agreement that this senator reneged on later.
Yeah,
legally,
exactly.
it was that truck is an extension of their warehouse. So when that truck picks it up, it has hit the distributor's warehouse. They can take it 4 blocks down the road, drop it off, being reasonable,
right.
And then basically they wanted these things because it would benefit, AB and Bev and these other large distributors. I mean, it was, basically just being a dick.
Yeah. So
being a dick.
So we're about at the end of this segment for it. If you guys could give me some takeaways from this, what you enjoyed best about doing this passion project, being able to step away from it and saying, this is what I'm most proud of, what would that be?
You go first, Chad.
I'm super proud of, well, first of all, meeting all these people that we would never have met was amazing. But the most fun that I've had is being with, like, my brother is like my best friend. My husband's my best friend. Scott is, he's not my best friend, but I love him. And it was very fun and enjoying to just, like, I just get to hang out with, like, 3 of my favorite people. And we get to drink beer and do something that is creative and, like, fun when we work 9 to 5 and it's, it's a job. Right. I like it, but I'm not in love with it. So that was my favorite thing, was just doing it, just being together. And
yeah, I would agree. And we really reached a lot of people that we got that had similar interests and that everybody's passionate about, and we got to just tell their story and just reach a lot of people and just, hang out with people. And
friends for life.
Like we had an excuse to go out and do something fun, and drink beer, of course, which is great. But there's kind of more to it than that,
Aside from hanging out with my sister and my brother-in-law and one of my best friends, I had this, how do I say this? You feel like you're less, I really don't know how to say this. I had this weird sense, I've always had this weird sense of celebrity, and Josh would probably be able to understand because, like, we had gone to all these horror conventions and stuff like that. I've always had this weird thing where it's like, oh, this person is bigger and better than me. And that's how we started this documentary. We were talking to these brewers, and I was thinking how there was this weird sense of celebrity. And then I realized, wait a minute, these people put on their pants the same way I do. They do things exactly the same way I do. They just are making beer for a living. There's no celebrity to it. It's all about community. It's all about it's passion. It's just, having your, just not, it's down to earth, but I never saw it as that until we started doing this. It's like, we're gonna get to meet Caleb from Scratchtown. We thought it was this big deal, and then we talked to him, and it's like, oh, Caleb's just a guy. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's still a big deal.
A really
He's a
great.
big, they're all big deals, but we're all working through life together, and I guess it's been the hardest thing for me in my adulthood to realize that we're all working in life together to just get to the end of life.
Yeah.
So really
Very
philosophical. Lots of beer, guys.
Just living to die. Just living to die.
You mentioned this afternoon that you feel that there's still a little bit of work to be done on this.
Oh God, yeah.
But my question then is, how can people see this? Are you going to be submitting it to more festivals? Are you going to be throwing it up on YouTube? How can people see this? Because I think people should see this.
We are going to show it as many places as we can. We'd hope to show it at the Bourbon in Lincoln. We're going to show it at a lot of breweries. Scratchtown has a theater in Ord. Well, they don't, but their neighbors in Ord have a theater. They want to show it there. So there's a lot of interest in that. We'll probably make some DVDs. We'll show it wherever people want to see it. So we're going to get it finished here in the next couple of months, like 100% finished, and just start showing it. And we'll definitely make it well known on social media so everyone knows it well in advance.
Yeah. What Ryan said. I was going to say,
let me know if that's not true.
There was going to be a nude video of myself in this one.
Everyone's going to love that.
No, that's going to sell.
I just perked up. I'm interested now.
Hey-o.
Will you be shaving through beer?
I did want to touch on that really quick because there's no Tyler Schmidt movie that escapes his comedic input when it comes. Like there's always
that's
some
true.
there's always some there's always a bit he's got to put in there, and everything he's done that I've seen, there's a punchline to everything.
Yeah.
So I know the answer to this question, but who came up with putting in those little, I guess, sketches?
Boom.
Yeah.
It was all me.
both of them.
Shadley had nothing to do with it.
That is bold.
And you talked about there's going to be possibly some more.
There might be some more.
There's some
there.
potentially
There's
some
probably
more.
going to be, yes.
There,
Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, like I feel like as far as like documentary, I mean, like I had somebody come up to me today and say it's like I started watching it and there's all these talking heads and I was like, oh boy, that's not what I want to see with a documentary, and essentially that's what a documentary is, but at the same, like B-roll, and for me there needs to be some kind of little punchline, little jokes, and as long as I keep, it's like we have these crazy stupid ideas that we
think
bounce
are
on.
funny.
Yeah, we think it's like, I mean, like the shave thing was
That was him.
just like it was completely. It just was hilarious to think about, and I laughed about. I like woke up in the middle of the night laughing about it one night, and I was just like, "We have to do this." So,
But me hitting on Ryan, I'm pretty sure it was mine.
hitting on Ryan
That was
great.
That
I mean,
was
like,
tomato,
great.
tomato.
That was so fun.
So-
Like,
yeah, it's a Schmid thing. I think it's like if you were a Schmid at one point in your life, at least, you're gonna have this weird sense of humor.
Excellent.
I appreciate you asking about that because.
Yeah, I've been
I
sitting back on it for 10 minutes now.
I couldn't wait to see it. So,
Any other questions for our guests
I'm
then?
good.
You're good?
I got it out.
Greg?
I have one.
Greg
Oh,
has
no.
one.
The quiet guy in the corner. You said that there was like 20 some brewers that you guys had visited on this tour, correct?
Well, it depends who you ask.
well, I thought 32.
In the realm of
Approximately
32 to 20.
approximately somewhere between 1 and 100.
Okay, that works. Were there any breweries that you didn't get a chance to talk to that you wanted to?
Yes. Lots of them.
Yeah.
A decent amount, yeah.
I mean,
Were there people that said no?
nobody that said no.
Nobody said
But-
no.
There was a few that were hard to get a hold of.
Or seemed uninterested. I
But
don't
at the
know.
same time, we were so swamped with things that it didn't really, I guess it didn't matter, because we're like, well, if we're not going to get to them, it doesn't matter because we're running out of time. And
Right.
I mean, we could, Omaha, we could hit up a lot still, I think. We didn't hit up Lucky Bucket or Cross Strait or Pint 9 or Viz Major. I mean, we could go all the way out west and hit Bolo. We could go,
I don't know if this is fair to say, but it seemed like maybe I can't.
Some had
even
more
say
interest
this.
than others.
Yeah, it almost seemed like there was a separation between like Lincoln and other towns, and then Omaha.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
feel
know,
like
even
Omaha was like much
Omaha
less
has kind of a
uninteresting.
Interesting.
weird town. It's
we
a weird
didn't hit
town.
we didn't hit Benson, but he was definitely interested.
He was
We just couldn't make
interested.
work.
It's timing is everything, and
Infusion. I'd like to get to Infusion. I mean,
Spilker.
Spilker would have been good.
Spilker would have been great because especially if we could have got them before they realized they were closing down,
Yeah.
and then
Oh, yeah.
after they realized they were closing down, because I mean, like we've had a couple of people close in the last couple of months,
Yep.
and to see that hard reality of
I think that would be an interesting addition to the documentary is the ones that haven't succeeded, because it seems like the ones that were in this are ones that are doing well.
well, yeah, with some exceptions.
Do you guys have any plugs real quick that you want to talk about? Real quick before we wrap up?
I'm sorry, say that.
Any plugs?
Plugs. Just look at our Facebook, and I don't know. I don't do social media very much anymore, so Twitter and Facebook, Prairie Pints. I don't know.
Keep still Tyler.
Yeah,
Shadley's looking up.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
It's Shad Joe Rose.
Yeah, but how do I do it?
She doesn't know.
Find me.
She doesn't know her handle.
Find me.
And this is
Okay.
like an inside joke.
No, I really don't know my handle, so I had to look it up. But follow me on Instagram at it's Shad Joe Rose, ITSHADJOROZ, which is clever.
If
And
you
if
say
anybody
so.
needs photos, ShadleyMikePhotography.com. Get
Excellent.
at me.
We have Tyler having an attack over here.
I'm dying.
All right, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this section up. If you got the opportunity, keep your eyes open for this Prairie Pints by Bootsy Cock Productions. I want to thank Tyler, Shadley, and Ryan for joining us this afternoon or this early evening to talk about the movie.
shout out to Scott for not being here.
Yeah, Scott's
Thanks for
a
having us.
fucking prick.
He's
And I
the
want
best
to thank you
friend.
guys real quick. I know we're way out of time here, but thank you guys. And that fucking short was fucking great last
Thanks.
night.
We
I'm
really
fucking
we
stoked
enjoyed
that
putting it together.
There is
so.
somebody that knows clearly what the hell he's doing in the editing bay, because I sure as hell don't.
All right, Greg, do you want to take us out?
In a world where we take another break.
All right.
Back to you.
Hey, everybody, we are back with our episode 19 Prairie Lights Film Festival episode. It's actually 1 week since the festival wrapped up. We were having all these grand plans to have on a couple more directors over the course of the week, and having the festival director and MC on as well, but that just didn't pan out, so we thought we would take a few minutes and kind of just wrap up this episode. Guys, what were your thoughts about the festival overall?
For me, it's the best festival so far. They up their game every year. They always have the films from the previous year. Always, they always get better. You can tell Nebraska filmmakers have really stepped up their game, which makes me feel like we need to step up ours, which we've talked about.
Right.
And it's not a competition. So I'm not saying that as, competitively. I'm just saying whenever you see somebody put out content, like people put out content this year, it makes you want to do things better.
Yeah, it makes you hungry to do better on your
Absolutely.
own. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, best festival so far. And, I always look forward to the festival. It's my favorite time of year. And, we saw some really good stuff.
Agreed. Yeah, I thought this was probably the best. I've only been to 3 of them, and this has by far been the best one since the first one that we went to. And just kind of coattailing on what Josh said, it's incredible how much better everybody gets every year, especially us. You said that it helps us, or it makes us want to up our game. We did up our game. We've gotten some great feedback and some great responses on Ghost Hunters, and I haven't heard much on the contest, but it sounded like it went over well while we were watching it. So we got to see some incredible content and catch up with a lot of incredible filmmakers and see some new ones submit some stuff, which was awesome. And yeah, it's our New Year's Eve is what we kept saying.
Yeah.
It really is, because it's kind of when we push reset. And we start the new year over. This was my third one as well, but it was the first one that I was able to actually stay in Grand Island, and it gave me the opportunity to hang out longer with some of the filmmakers there. And Josh, you had mentioned that this is not a competition. This festival is not about winning awards. So it was kind of great to see the support that you get from the other filmmakers. Yes, there's always, when you're dealing with creative people, you're always going to be dealing with ego, but it's interesting to see all these people setting that aside and able to share their ideas, their thoughts in such a constructive way. I was able to sit down at the table afterwards at Tommy's there and just have some really great conversation with some of the other filmmakers, and to be able to pull some people aside and congratulate them and tell them how much you thought of their work, and for them to reciprocate that and truly mean it, I thought was just an amazing thing. So I hope it stays that way. I hope it stays a non-competitive thing. I know that's Matt's intentions for it, and I'm hoping to get him on our podcast sometime so he can talk more about it.
I like to use the word celebration every year.
Oh, that's a great word. Yeah,
because it's definitely celebrating filmmaking in Nebraska.
Yep.
And so, like I said, it's everybody's there to help everybody out, and that's kind of how it should be. I think new filmmakers, old filmmakers, and everybody in between should come out to that festival. Yeah. And if you're just wanting to learn or just wanting to chat with people who've done it, it's a great place to be. So.
To rub some elbows.
Yeah, definitely. So if you are a Nebraska filmmaker, I mean, we wholeheartedly endorse this festival and say, just look up prairielightsfilmfest.com. And I know that submissions are open already for open. 2018. And it doesn't matter if it's your first film, if it's your 100th film, if you are a professional, if you're a novice. It's about, as Josh said, celebrating the art of filmmaking through Nebraska filmmakers and films made in Nebraska. So, I think that just about wraps it up for this episode.
Yeah.
I think what our plan is eventually to, like I said, get Matt on the podcast so he can talk about it, and maybe get Mark Popejoy on there as well. I know I want to hook up with Dorothy and Chad to talk about Corruptor, which premiered there, and a couple other, maybe Benito, because he had the surprise film there, and I would just like to. I think it would be fun to do a film with Benito, creatively, not just using him as a special effects expert, but to actually collaborate with him on a piece.
A great eye.
Yes, he really does.
He has a great eye.
He really does, and I think that's because that comes from his art background and everything else, and I just think he's a good filmmaker. Yeah. So, anything else? Do we want to go ahead and put a plug in here? There, I know that we did on our earlier podcast, but that's going to be separate from this one.
Say it again, Gregory.
If you're looking for some high quality movie reviews, step on over to gregthemovieguy.blogspot.com. I'm viciously working my way through the 31-day horror movie challenge, but that hasn't stopped me. I actually just posted a brand new blog post on the movie Lights Out. It's scary. Not really, but it's pretty good, I thought. So step on over, check that out. Again, that is gregthemovieguy.blogspot.com.
Patrick?
As I will be hopefully posting these on separate days. If this happens, I think this one will land before our podcast we just did a few minutes earlier.
Before 20.
Yeah, exactly. We want to make sure that they go in order. Check out our YouTube channel, because hopefully I will have Ghost Hunters posted as our Halloween treat to all of our fans and to anybody else who wants to see it. So if you like our work, come out and see it. If you don't like it, encourage all your enemies.
Yeah. Otherwise, check us out on midnightfrightfilms.com. You can find us on Facebook at Midnight Frights and the Midnight Frightcast, and also the Insta of Grams. So, yeah, that's where we are. That's where we live.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that's it. All right. So we're wrapping this one up. Everybody have a great Halloween.
Until next year, Prairie Lights.
There we go.